Hello everyone, this is Safi Alzi'abi. I'll talk about this research entitled Arab EFL learners stress of English words with the suffix "it". At the onset of this session, I would like to remind you of the importance of stress. It's widely acknowledged that comprehensible and intelligible pronunciation is a prerequisite of language competence. Linguistic communication cannot be established if vocabulary items are not correctly stressed. Teachers believe that the use of correct stress is a characteristic of productive English discourse, and many researchers have found that suprasegmental errors tend to hinder listeners' assessment of L2 speech more directly than segmentals do. When it comes to EFL learners, stress might sometimes be difficult to decipher. Many EFL learners encounter some difficulty perceiving and producing English word stress contrasts where L1 phonetic features are dissimilar to their mother tongue features. Arab learners, in particular, Arab EFL learners have problems stressing words, particularly multisyllabic items. In an earlier study, I found that Arab learners of English have considerable difficulty stressing multisyllabic words correctly, particularly those words which end with the suffix "it". In that study, it was found that words like cognate, percolate, germinate, which are stressed on the first syllable, were stressed by Arab learners on the last syllable, that is, the syllable with the suffix "it". It's again useful to remember that English has a great number of words ending with the suffix "it". One of the sources on the internet mentions that there are about 7,761 words. Approximately 1,000 of these are verbs. The suffix "it" has three variants when it comes to pronunciation. We have the one with the schwa, the one with the I sound, and the one with the A sound. The suffix "it" can be used to form adjectives, nouns, and verbs. When it comes to stress, we might talk about some rules for stressing words ending with the suffix "it". In disyllabic verbs, the stress falls on the second syllable, that is the one containing the suffix "it". In disyllabic nouns and adjectives, the stress falls on the first syllable. In trisyllabic, tetrasyllabic, and pentasyllabic items, the stress mostly falls on the antepenultimate syllable. One thing to remember at this juncture is the fact that some words which end with the suffix "it" might belong to more than one word class. So the noun estimate is stressed on the first syllable. The verb estimate is stressed on the second syllable. So each word class has its own stress pattern. Now, the words with the suffix "it" can sometimes be prefixed, used with prefixes. Those instances are usually having the same stress before and after the use of the prefix. So the prefixed words with it retain the same stress pattern. When it comes to Arabic, we do have some words which end with a similar suffix to the English one, spelt with the alif and ta, this way or that way. So we have the at suffix in Arabic, which correspond to the English it suffix. And this occurs in disyllabic, trisyllabic, terasyllabic, and some pentasyllabic items. Usually, such items are either feminine regular plural nouns or adjectives, or singular feminine items. We do again have some pentasyllabics with the suffix it. As to disyllabic and tri or possibly terasyllabic items, we have examples like the word kalimat, which means words, fatinat, which means stunningly beautiful women. We have the word Tawrat, the Torah. We have mutasaddiqat, women who give money in charity. Mutatahhirat, women who keep themselves pure and clean. All such words in Arabic are stressed on the last syllable, the one with the suffix at. So we have samawat, sariqat, tayyibat, etc. Now it's time we move to talk about the present study. The study aims at answering 4 different questions. The first question: how do Arab learners of English stress English words ending with it? It's anticipated that such words are stressed on the rightmost syllable. Subjects will mostly stress the last syllable, and they usually prolong the vowel in the last syllable so that it can be stressed. The second question is: does the number of syllables in words ending with the suffix it have any impact on subject's word stress performance? Again, it's anticipated that the larger number of syllables, the more likely such words are stressed on the rightmost syllable. Third question: does the part of speech of words ending with it have any impact on subject's word stress performance? And the last question: does explicit instruction and training in English word stress improve word stress competence? Here it's again expected that stress competency will be in strict alignment with the amount of training received by participants. As to the subjects used in this study were 102 Arab learners studying English at some Jordanian universities. These students were studying in their 3rd and 4th years. All the subjects started to learn English at the age of 6. None had studied abroad and none had any hearing problems. All had plans to become EFL teachers. Their mean age was 22. All students did a compulsory course in phonetics and phonology as part of their study plan, but they had not received any special training in stress placement. The stimuli used in this study were 90 infrequent English items ending with the suffix it. These were selected in accordance with the word frequency estimates in some learners' dictionaries. They included 13 disyllabic items, 74 trisyllabic items, and 3 terasyllabic items, These corresponded to 16 nouns, 15 adjectives, and 59 verbs. It was really difficult to find an equal number of infrequent items which were stressed on the first syllable within each word class or within the range of number of syllables used. This means that all the stimuli, with the exception of two, were stressed on the first syllable. They all have the stimuli have the stress on the first syllable with the exception of two items, disconsolate and commensurate. As to the procedure, the stimuli were listed on two sheets and randomly ordered. A boldface 14-inch Times New Roman font was employed to make sure the items were clear and readable. Word class was indicated by some grammatical codes. The pretest aimed at uncovering the way Arab EFL learners stressed words with the suffix it. The stimuli were included twice in the test. Two stimuli were included twice in the test to ascertain the subjects were answering systematically. Of course, they were placed in two different positions. The post-test was similar to the pre-test, except for the addition of some 6 more words serving as distractors. The main purpose of the post-test was to gauge subjects' gain of word stress after the treatment. All distractors have the stress on the second syllable rather than on the first syllable. The subjects had to write the meaning of each stimulus at the very beginning of the test just to make sure that they don't know these infrequent words. For both tests, the subjects read out loud each test word in the presence of the researcher who was tape recording their production. The subjects were encouraged to read in a natural tempo in the most natural style. Mostly, the recording took place in secluded language labs. The data collected were about 12-hour recordings containing 9,180 tokens. There were in total 1,530 adjectives, 1,420 nouns, and 6,222 verbs. As to the efficacy of training in stress placement, the author offered a 9-hour stress training course over 3 weeks. The course material was introduced via input enhancement techniques of interaction and explanation to ensure productivity. Computer software was used to analyze recorded speech and visually display pitch contour of stress. This might have assisted participants in proper understanding of word stress features. A great number of words ending with the suffix it were extracted from dictionaries, and some highly infrequent ones were borrowed from some word game helper websites. An explanation of the stress patterns of such words followed with some relevant audio material. All patterns of stress in disyllabics, trisyllabics, tetrasyllabics, etc. were discussed and exemplified. On the whole, these sessions included diagnostic evaluation, ongoing evaluation with feedback, and final evaluation done by the instructor. Students were requested to provide their own examples to illustrate the patterns in question covering all word classes and vice versa. A total of 42 students participated in this course and took the post-test out of the 102 subjects mentioned earlier. As to data analysis, the data gathered was assessed by a range of objective and subjective measures. Analysis of the tokens was performed by the author and two other native professional academic raters who were familiar with Arabic accented English. Raters listened to each token and identified the stressed syllable. The recordings were clear enough that they did not warrant visualization in waveform and spectrogram in Pratt. Pratt, however, was sometimes used to check some random samples to ascertain the auditory impressions. The native raters could not check the whole data, but each listened to slightly more than half of the tokens, and about 98 inter-rater consistency was obtained among the three raters. As to the results, the first question, as you may still remember, concerns subject stress scores and their stress patterns. Arab EFL learners were expected to stress the final syllable. Analysis of the data showed that about 94% of the subjects stressed the rightmost syllable in all stimuli. Arab learners dismally failed the word stress pretest and all consistently followed a regular stress pattern, which is stressing the final syllable. The second question concerned the influence of length of the items, the influence of the length of the items and on subject's behavior. So the second question concerned the influence of length of the items on subject's stress behavior. The results showed that most subjects stressed the final syllable in most stimuli almost nearly equally, regardless of the number of words in the stimuli. About 89 of disyllabics were stressed on the second syllable, and about 95% of the terasyllabic items had the stress on the fourth syllable. As to research question number 3, which concerned any influence of part of speech on subject stress performance, it was found that almost all disyllabic adjectives were incorrectly stressed, as the majority had the stress on the first syllable. We mentioned earlier that disyllabic adjectives and nouns are mostly stressed on the first syllable. Similar results held true for nouns and verbs. The different word classes were invariably similarly stressed, and they had the stress on the last syllable, which confirms the prediction that Arab EFL learners do not adopt any particular strategy in stressing the different word classes. The results of the second and third question indicate that neither the length of the stimuli nor the number of syllables in the word, the length of the stimuli and the part of speech did not have any impact on subject's performance. The only obvious cause of the subject's abject failure to stress words correctly was their dependence on Arabic stress mechanism. L1 transfer was then the most major source of difficulty. The last question concerned the efficacy of training in stress placement. It was anticipated that training would improve subjects' performance, and the results showed that the posttest score, which was 91.6, far exceeded the pretest score, which was 4.6. So the subject performance on the posttest is tremendously impressive. Training in word stress radically and possibly unexpectedly improved learners' performance. This finding strongly supports the hypothesis that training is helpful. As to implications, adequate training can be beneficial for word stress acquisition and can effectively enhance learners' overall suprasegmental competence. Educationals and teacher trainers need to involve L2 instructors in long-term, high-level in-service teacher training to enable them to possess sufficient knowledge about pronunciation instruction. Uh, on the whole, this current research is a step towards a more comprehensive examination of Arab EFL learners' acquisition of suprasegmental features. Thank you for listening.